Thank you, Alicia, for the nice introduction. And I'm really happy that you have this section on plant poisoning. I think it is a good idea, and I'm pretty sure that although we have to be aware that a fresh plant is not the same thing as an industrial product, which is of plant origin and ends up as a food additive, but anyway, I think there's a little bit of overlap, and I think it's good that we use this opportunity to learn. The other aspect which I would like to address in this talk is actually this the BfR-app. I can say this singular because it's the first and only we have, but also later more on that topic. Especially, I should also refer to the two speakers before. It's actually excellent. It couldn't have been planned any better, because after their talks you will be able to pass the test I have prepared at the end of my talk. It's really good. Okay, so plant poisoning in Germany. Let's start with a few facts about cases and then come to the issue of the problem at hand, which is dissemination of the knowledge. And knowledge was also referred in the previous talks to be one of the important aspects. The German poisoning information centers, we have 9 such centers. They receive about 20,000 calls per year, which are related to cases or suspect cases of plant poisoning. And you can also see how precisely these figures match with the Danish example. It's really comparable, I would say. So these 20,000 make up about 10% of all the calls we get in Germany in all these 9 centers. So it's 10% of all calls are related to plant issues, not necessarily cases, and it's also true what has been presented before, that most of these cases actually are not serious cases. They can be done probably within a few minutes of interview. At the BfR, we have more than 300 plant-associated poisoning cases collected in our database over the last 23 years or so. And of course, these number of plant-associated poisonings, they are well-documented cases. They are also the more severe cases of poisoning. And it's also relevant to note that 50% of the cases relate to children. And I think that became also quite clear in the talks before that why that is. Children are a little bit more explorative in their behavior. They taste out things which we have long decided that we would not like to eat, unless we are on a hiking tour or something like that. But actually, children, and that is also a sad story, are of course indicators also for toxicological issues. And they're not only indicators, they are also very sensitive indicators. So therefore, children are really also in the focus of any events to collect such data. Well, this is not our activity. The German Poison Information Centers, they are run by the Länder, whereas we are a federal institute, but we share information within our network. The graphic below shows some numbers of our reported and recorded cases in our database. You can see it ranges between 10 and 30 cases per year, which is not really a very high number. These are actually the numbers directly reported to BfR. I think we have to state clearly here that there's a huge underreporting. Why do we get any information about poisoning at the BfR at all? Because I mentioned we do have the poison information centers in Germany. Well, there's a piece of legislation similar as you have in your country. We call it the Chemical Act, and according to the Chemical Act, the physicians are obliged to report cases or suspect cases of poisoning to the BfR. And we as a documentation center will collect such information and make it also available to the poison information centers for their optimal advice. So since the origin of this notification comes from the Chemical Act, some of the physicians, as you may speculate, may not really see the point to report cases of poisoning with natural sources. But in the legislation, there's no mention that non-chemical poisons or compounds are excluded from the notification. So thereby we obtain a lot of cases or a few cases, but we have to assume that the true number is far above what you see here. Well, this leads to the next point, actually. Why do we see such cases? It's only those cases probably which end up in a little bit more severe health impairments. And why do they still occur? And they occur, I think, for the same reason as have been mentioned so far. We have, in our society, lost a little bit the ability to tell what is edible or not edible if it concerns wild plants. And the knowledge is available. It is largely available. There's only a few cases where maybe scientists and experts disagree on the toxicological level, but the knowledge is there. The problem is the dissemination of knowledge. And when we talk about disseminating knowledge about the toxicological potential of plants, then we talk about the public, the general public as a target group, but specifically also the parents or the child carers or professionals which are related to create, let's say, playing grounds or other environments for children to be safe. Actually, there's a good consensus among those professionals dealing with toxic plants that there's no point in eradicating all plants which have a toxicological potential from the environment of children. The conclusion in most of these expert meetings is that we just have to increase the knowledge. So we will never, it makes no sense to really try to achieve a zero risk by avoiding or eradicating plants which have a toxic potential. The point is really we should be a little bit careful where there's a very close contact, like playing grounds in a kindergarten setting. Of course, there are lists available which plants are not recommended in such settings, but otherwise there's no general recommendation whatsoever to get rid of some of these toxic plants from our environments. So therefore, information is a key point. And what media do we have available for the communication? We do have scientific reports, we do have brochures, and you can see two examples here. If you get the PDF file, you can also get access to the original PDFs. Although this is in German, as I can see now, but you will be able to tell from the Latin name what has been assessed. Another means of communication is the Poison Garden. This is a project at the BfR. The colleagues have collected those plants which are the most relevant to really demonstrate to classes of school children or parents or families which of the plants which usually occur in gardens or parks have a toxicological potential. But of course we do see the point that we reach only certain people with such means of communication, and therefore I would like to go to the next part of the presentation and talk about the app. And actually, the app in the context of information about poisoning in children really goes beyond just thinking that this is a PR gadget. And for many reasons. One reason is that the availability of these smartphones has really dramatically increased. If I travel to work in public transport, there's hardly any person not staring at a smartphone, trying to do things, looking videos or hearing music. So these devices are really all around, and they are very handy. We call such things handy in Germany, as you may know. And it has, especially for the topic of poisoning of plants, the advantage that you have this information available where those accidents may occur. You're not at home, you're out in the garden, you're at the playground or in the forest, and you have your smartphone anyway, so here you are presented with the information that you may need on the spot. And we know from also own experiences and also talking to the colleagues at the information centers, people react in panic if there's an accident. So there will be no time for parents to use their smartphones to go into their web browser and trying to find pages to look up potential plans and read through all the information to actually understand how they should react. And this was also a key point in developing such an app, to have information condensed and really put together in a form that you can very quickly access it, even in the case of, let's say, an accident. So I will talk a little bit about the goals and features, and we do have to talk about further developments, because you will see this is an app which, so to speak, proves the concept, and there will be also more work to be done for further development. The goal was really to inform the target group, especially parents and the child carers, about the poisoning risk for children. And as I said, we put the children into the focus of this because we know also from the records of the poisoning information centers that children are a very significant risk group. This does not mean that we have to focus also on other subgroups, so to speak, in the population. I just want to mention it here that also elderly people have also very specific risks. For example, this relates to household chemicals, for example, because it's a little bit difficult to deal with all these new products and to be able to read all the small print. So there are other specific risk groups, but children are one of the very important risk group. The goal is really to have a device and have information available in case of an emergency. And we wanted to provide a free tool which can be used also in offline mode. And what is the scientific basis for putting together this information? The basis is actually the BfR brochure about risk of poisoning accidents among children. It's also a source which you can read and download, and you will see how much condensed this information has been to put into the format of an app. It has been collaborated not only with collaboration within the Institute, but also with external support from the Poison Information Center, especially the one in Berlin, and the Safe Kids Germany working group, and also our committee for the assessment of poisoning has helped to develop and to especially to review the contents of the app. So just have a few screenshots of it. There's one feature which is called A to Z poisonings, so that is almost an alphabetical list of head words. It's about 300 head words that really give a very condensed information about various things. And here there's especially a very big group of products which are the household products, which occur very often in poisoning cases. For each substance or product, you will find information about the occurrence, some information about first aid and the toxic ingredients, the clinical signs, possible measures at the pediatric hospital, and then also pictures that allow you to identify what product or plant or whatever could have been the cause of an accident. These mix-ups are especially important in toxicology or in acute poisoning, and it occurs in all possible situations. And one was mentioned, and it's a classical example where we find chemicals filled in bottles which are used for food, and this is a type of mix-up which is really preventable. There are other mix-ups, and we will later come back to the issue for the plant mistaken identifications. What else do we have? Or we can look into one of those examples. If we, for example, need information about the Aconitum, we can see that it has been ranked here as one of the most toxic plants of Europe. And there's a little bit of text about the occurrence and very brief text about first aid. symptoms are given, and what should be expected if the patient is hospitalized. I should say that you see the screenshots here in English. This is a little bit faked. The app is available in German at the moment. We are working on an English translation, but it's not yet available. First aid. The information that we give in the brochure about poisoning in children is also here translated and condensed into this app format, and we concentrate on the information which can be given quite safely without causing, let's say, a misbehavior or misled first aid treatment by the parents. And therefore, the treatments concentrate on situations which can be clearly identified even by lay person. There's also general information given, what is poisoning, and the terms explained. And more importantly, there are some examples given in which poisoning cases occur very often. It's like in the situation for poisonings in children, it's when the parents are distracted, if chemicals are mixed up with pharmaceuticals, if they are put in beverage bottles, as mentioned, but also when children visit other households or environments where they explore and are not really familiar with the risks. One important feature of the app is the inbuilt contact with one of the poison information centers. There's a direct link, and as has been mentioned, it's a similar business model, if we can call it like that. The consultants are available 7 days, 24 hours for their service. There's almost always an experienced toxicologist on shift, although of course the call places are equipped also with other personnel. The consultation is free of charge. That's quite important, so there's no hurdle to really obtain such information. If you use the app to contact a poison information center, you can see the blue button at the lower right. This will connect you to the nearest information center according to the location of the cell phone, but you can also specifically contact any of those other centers. Actually, before you dial a number, you're not immediately connected, but you will see a list of questions that should prepare you for the call. I don't have the screenshot for this, but these are the very typical questions which are to be expected, especially in more serious cases. The idea is to maybe save time and give also the parents a possibility to think about what important information should be made available before they even call. Okay, this slide is about the deployment and feedback. As mentioned, it is available in German language only for the time being, and it has been programmed for Android system and the Apple operation system. It can be downloaded from the BfR homepage. You can use this QR code if you want, but also you can also visit the BfR homepage. And since its introduction, there were more than 100,000 downloads, and most users rated it as quite useful, very useful. And we are, of course, very proud that we were winner of the German award for online communication this year, and in the category of Best App. And this has been really a competitive thing, so where our colleagues went there and presented it in competition with many other applications. Further development, this is quite important really to mention. We should include more plans, so I'm hesitant really to show you what we have in terms of plans, because it's more a proof of principle. It should be expanded to cover more. And also we have to deal with some technological adaptation, for example, to other operation systems, and of course we do need the English version. And having an English version, of course, will eventually increase also the areas in which it can be applied, so maybe also then the contents has to be reviewed again. So it is maybe only the start of the next projects, so to speak. So very briefly, two examples, and I cannot add really a lot after the two previous talks, but this case report here is about Colchicum, and the report is that in springtime an elderly couple prepared a salad from wild herbs they gathered themselves, believing it is BIR's garlic. That's one of the classical situations. And then the manifestation of the health effect was that the male had to be admitted to a hospital some hours after the lunch with quite severe symptoms, persisting diarrhea, severe deterioration, agitation, strong execosis, dryness of mucous membranes. Body temperature was above normal. Blood pressure was normal, as you can read, but also very clear cardiac symptoms. And within 4 hours, the situation deteriorated, and the patient died about 64 hours after the accidental ingestion. It's important to note that sometimes we do have case series, as in this case, it was a couple, and this creates an additional value in a sense, because sometimes it's a beginning of, or it's a possibility to investigate the exact amount of ingested materials, in this case plants, and sometimes it's even at least a rough indication about some kind of dose response qualification. Actually, the female partner was lucky. She was discharged after a few days from the hospital without any further problems. And the other case report is Aconitum, and it's also here an elderly patient. So contrary to what I stated, that children are the focus, case studies are elderly people. And here it's an example where an infusion was prepared from monkshood, which is definitely not a good idea. But this person has been lucky in a way, presented with nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, increased heart rate, cardiac arrhythmias, and after 12 days, the patient could be discharged. So this is a good outcome. For both cases, it's true, as is true for all the cases which end up in our database, they are quality assured, so also the causal relationship between ingestion and manifestation is qualified according to some template, and thereby it can be used really also to substantiate maybe the assessment of acute toxicological risks in other application areas. Okay, this brings me to the final slides. And now we should know, after the two previous presentations, if we want to do a nice pesto. Can you spot any plants, any leaves that you definitely would not really like to? If you say you would not pluck any of those, you are fine, because then you have observed the other principle. If you don't know exactly, you better not try. But those of you who really like these wild herbs in their salads and assume to know, do you have an idea which of those leaves is a good idea to pluck? I think they have been mentioned so far, so just a rough guess. Yeah. So yes, let's have a look. There's actually C is quite to start with the green one, the bear's garlic, which is relatively safe if we can differentiate it. And this is a problem because we have to look at the shape of the leaves actually, and this photo demonstrates that it's not really so easy to be exactly sure. So I think the rule to stay away from wild herbs if you don't know exactly, and the same applies to mushrooms as well. It's a very good rule. Yeah, actually we have the autumn crocus, Colchicum autumnale here, A, and we also have the lily of the valley. And both plants would not be really suitable for your pesto. So that is also the conclusion of my talk. Knowledge about plant poisoning may save lives, especially if you have this behavior or want to teach your children to be survivors in the forest. Then knowing plants can really be very useful. The other conclusion about the app would be, and I noticed that this already, we have to think about new ways of communication. A tremendous part of our population is not really ready to read long records and long statements, so we have to find ways to communicate more efficiently, or at least to open up channels for communication to reach a few more people. And every person which is reached by such a new way of communication can be a success if there's any case we can spare. So this is my conclusion. Of course, I should mention that this app is a joint project of the Department of Risk Communication and the Department of Exposure, especially the Unit of Poison and Product Documentation. And we were happy to receive the support of many experts around that helped to review all the material. And I thank you for your attention.